Hello, Mr. Chauhan. How are
Hello,
you?
Puneet. Fine, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to my show, Valor and Wisdom. My name is Puneet Singh Mehra, and again today we have our special guest, Mr. Jay Chauhan, who is the author of Love It Up Bad. Mr. Chauhan, how's your Corona days right now?
Good, let's talk about Corona.
Yes. So, to all my viewers, today we're going to discuss about the latest 21st century virus, COVID, the coronavirus 2019. As we already know that COVID did already take many lives from the rest of the world. It's a big pandemic situation right now, which everyone are struggling. And around all the world, every scientist and science trying to discover the vaccine for the COVID-19, which some of them are successful, but the majority of successful are getting from the India. And today, India became the global hub for the COVID vaccine. And one of the world's biggest vaccine institute is the Serum Institute of India, which produced the biggest COVID vaccine in 21st century. In 21st century, we already know that COVID affects many things, the business, the life, the situation. For sure, the moving forward days, it's not very which we are used to, but this is what life is, which you have to adapt, you have to survive, and then again you have to start. So this is the meaning of a life. So, but let me tell you about the vaccination which India produces. So India created a vaccine named Vaccine Matri, and Matri means a friendship. India begins supply of COVID vaccine not only to Indians but rest of the world. But especially they first deliver to his neighboring countries like Maldives, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Seychelles, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar, and later the rest of the world. India is the only country which produces the half of the world vaccine. So for that one, you should be really proud of it. And now, not only the neighboring countries, today India is also supplying the vaccines to some Middle Eastern, some South American countries like Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Brazil, Morocco, and many more. So the vaccine Matri is first be shipped to Bhutan, which Bhutan received 150 doses free. We didn't even charge for it. And the second country is the Maldives, which received 100,000 doses of vaccine for free. The third country is the Bangladesh, which received 2 million vaccines from India. And slowly, we are going to deliver all the vaccine to all the countries. And now we have in the waiting list like United Kingdom, some European countries, some Western countries who are getting the vaccine from the India. And many of the well-known ministers also wrote about the vaccine. So let me quote it for every one of you. So the first one is from the Nepal. The Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, which he said, I quote, I thank Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji as well as the government and people of India for the generous grant of 1 million doses of COVID vaccine to Nepal at this critical time when India is rolling out the vaccination for its own people. The second one is from the Bhutan Foreign Minister, which he said, I quote, our profound gratitude to the government of India for the generous gift of 150,000 doses of Covishield vaccines that Bhutan received today. Now, from the Maldives, the president, Ibrahim, a flight from India with 100,000 doses of Covishield vaccine arrived in Maldives, renewing our hopes for resolution to the COVID-19 crisis soon. Our heartfelt thanks to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government and people of India for this most generous gift. Next one is from the Mohammed Nahid, which he said, today, an Air India plane will land in Mal with 100,000 of doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, a gift from India for its beginning of the end of the terrible virus during tsunami 88 Cove water crisis, has been our first responder and dependable. Sri Lanka President said, COVID received the vaccination by Institute of India. We do not wait longer more than 27 of this month to receive a quality of free vaccine from India. So this is the reputation of India. Now everyone praises for Narendra Modi. And not only for that one, now from the South American countries like the Brazil, which Brazil president tweet, he said, first I'll tell you in Brazilian, then I will translate in English. So he said, Namaskar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. O Brasília sente-se honrado em ter grande parceira para superar obstáculo global. Obrigado por nos oferecer como exportadores de vacina da India para o Brasil. Dhanyavad. Which in English it's mean, Namaskar Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Brazil feels honored to have a great partner to overcome a global obstacle by joining efforts. Thank you for assisting us with the vaccine export from India to Brazil. Dhanyavad. Thank you. See, now even Hanuman, the Bajrangbali, also reached to Brazil. But right now in 21st century, we don't even know what is Hanuman Chalisa. Jai Hanuman Gyan Gun Sagar, Jai Kapis Lok Ujagar, Ramaduja Tiliti Pudhama, Anjani Putra Pavan Sutanama. See, we Indian doesn't know the Hanuman Chalisa, but the Brazilian know the power of the Hanuman, the Sanjeevani booty of the vaccine, which delivered to the Brazil from India. So this is the reputation of India. So Mr. Chauhan, what do you think about that part of story?
So here is the comments I want to make actually. See, how is the world organized as one civilization on one planet at the current time? So let me go back to 1918 at the time of Spanish flu, which killed millions of people, which incidentally in 1918, it was called Spanish flu, but it didn't originate in Spain. It was just because it was reported first in the Free Press of Spain that the world thinks it is a Spanish flu. But millions, I would say 25 million people died, and they did not have it. The world was not organized around the communications and the scientific ability that we have today. So how is the world organized today? So let me just reflect on the distribution of vaccine. You pointed out that the vaccine is prepared in 50% of the world vaccine is prepared in India.
Yes.
And how should it have been prepared in the current time? All the Western media did not report the fact that India has the capacity to produce if you give India the formula to produce the vaccine, they can produce it at a fraction of the cost of the Western countries. There is a plant in Netherlands, then there is a plant in a lot of places in America. They have the capacity to produce actually. Countries like Canada and other countries do not have the capacity to produce the vaccine, and especially in the numbers that India can produce. So the fact that India has the capacity to produce almost 60% of the vaccines in the world and are exporting vaccines is the fact that was not even announced in the Western media, including BBC and CNN. So the world is, how is it organized? In fact, Trump withdrew from the World Health Organization and the comments that the World Organization is making for the purpose of what is happening to Corona. And so how could it have been organized? Because if the reality of the world is that if Wuhan was the place where Corona started, it went around the world within months, around the entire world. Every country, almost every citizen of the world is affected by Corona. So how should it have been organized? So if you had the vaccine given to India to manufacture with a license, then the rest of the world would have obtained it much quicker with the transportation system we have today and the capacity India has today.
Yes.
But it was not done that way. So I think it's very important to recognize that what India is doing, not only because of the capacity, but the charitable approach to giving out the vaccine. We didn't hear of Western countries donating free vaccine. I think Bill Gates Foundation might have done a lot of charity, but not the governments.
Yes.
So these Western governments are actually buying up the vaccines. And the World Health Organization, in fact, made a comment that it is a little bit unfair that in the one world that the developing countries do not have the access to the vaccine developed and with the scientists in America, especially in America, which is a very capable country to produce new ideas and solutions to the world's scientific problems.
Yes.
So I think that the problem goes back, in fact, to the year 1945 when the Second World War ended. At that time in San Francisco, in that year, in the very year in which the Second World War ended, there was the World Conference, predominantly the Western countries, that created United Nations with a view that we should now create a world government, actually, with United Nations. Unfortunately, India was a colony at that time of England, so it did not at that time get a position on Security Council and have a voice in the world government. It still does not have a voice in the world government. So
Yes.
the Western media are not even announcing the method by which you could make the vaccine accessible to the rest of the world. Because if you don't make it accessible quickly enough, the biggest country that is going to lose out is America, actually. Indian population is massive, but they have lesser number of people who are dying from corona. So all this information is not coming out in terms of how it should come out, actually. So I think my view is that it is very important that we bring out with program these ideas, and we should send this video to all the key people, politicians of the Western world, as well as Indian people, so that they're inspired to lead the world in terms of the technical abilities. In our past program, you pointed out, and I've learned a lot from your program, actually, how the Indian history of Ayurveda created medicine. So it's not that India does not have the genius to create ideas. In Taxila University, Nalanda University, where Chinese people used to come and learn Sanskrit and then go to university. And I saw a movie last night in which I saw actually how historical movies show that India contributed through the language and through the sciences, astronomy, astrology, medicine, politics, etc., that ideas were created. But we had a period of 1,000 years in which India was overshadowed by outsiders who controlled the destiny of India, and particularly in the last 300 years. So it was a dark era for the Indian history, but now this is an example of how India perceived the rest of the world, and the role of India is not being recognized by the Western countries. And it's a shame that it is not recognized, because if it is recognized and India is allowed to make a contribution as a person who can lead in ability to produce and think in the modern industrial world for the vaccines, then world would have a different perception and a solution for this pandemic in the current world. So that is my view.
Sure, Mr. Chauhan. See, we have to understand, when the viruses are taking life from the people, the Indian vaccines are giving life back to those people. We are the saviors. And not only the vaccine part, the corona part, recently the Indian cricket team also won over the Australia in their home ground after 32 or 34 years. So here's the video. Enjoy.
Never, ever underestimate the Indians. I mean, there's 1.5 billion Indians. If you play in that first 11, you're going to be really tough, don't you? 11 players out of 1.5 billion people. As I said, I can't compliment India enough. I mean, they haven't gone away after that first test match where we won in 3 days, bowled them out for 30 odd. For them to fight back like they did is amazing credit to them. And we've got to sometimes, the big lesson for us is that you never take anything for granted. And India never go away. It's like a big arm wrestle. It always is in the one-day series, the test series. We've played against them in the last few years. They're a very, very strong international cricket team.
That's our message to every one of you. Okay, Mr. Chauhan, take care. See ya.